Beneath the quiet fields of Wales, archaeologists uncovered something that history had almost erased: a cemetery more than 1,500 years old, and nearly every grave belonged to a woman. For years, this site raised an unsettling question. Who were these women, and why were they buried here, together, in silence? Now, new discoveries may finally be revealing the truth. The site lies near Fonmont Castle, not far from Cardiff Airport. At first glance, it looks unremarkable: farmland, soil, limestone bedrock. But beneath the surface, archaeologists have uncovered 58 skeletons, dating back to the 6th or 7th century. What makes this burial ground extraordinary isn't its age, it's who is buried there. Almost all of the remains belong to women. Their graves are shallow, carefully cut into solid limestone. The skeletons are intact, well preserved, and positioned with care. These women lived hard lives. Their bones and teeth show signs of physical strain, yet they were buried with respect. And among their graves, something unexpected began to appear. Scattered among the graves were objects that didn't belong to the poor or forgotten. Archaeologists discovered decorative items: a copper brooch, possibly gilded with gold, bone pins carved with intricate patterns, and combs carefully shaped from antler. Then came the smallest, yet most striking finds of all: tiny glass beads, just 3 millimeters wide, colored red, blue, yellow, green. They may have been stitched into clothing or worn as jewelry. These were not random objects. They spoke of status, craftsmanship, and care. The question deepened. If these women lived difficult lives, why were they buried with signs of wealth and refinement? For 4 years, researchers struggled to understand the meaning of the site. Why were almost all the burials female? Why were the graves so closely grouped together? Then, during the latest excavation, the ground revealed a clue: stone fragments, an outline in the soil. At the very center of the cemetery, archaeologists uncovered what appears to be the remains of a small building, possibly a shrine or a chapel. And suddenly, everything began to make sense. The possible structure sits at the heart of the burial ground. Graves are clustered tightly around it, as if people wanted to be buried as close as possible to this place. So close, in fact, that some graves were reused again and again. 2, 3, sometimes 4 individuals buried in the same spot over time. Bones gently moved aside to make room for the next body. This suggests something powerful: a place considered sacred, a location worth sharing in death. Archaeologists now believe this may have been an early religious community, possibly one of the earliest female Christian communities ever found in Britain. This was not just a place for burial. Among the graves, archaeologists found domestic items: a quern stone used to grind grain for bread, fragments of pottery and glassware used for eating and drinking. These objects suggest daily life. People lived here, worked here, worshipped here. The community may have been enclosed, living beside the cemetery, separated from wider society. A group of women, possibly nuns, living quietly, devoted to faith, long before church history was ever written down. But not everything fits neatly. A small number of men were also buried here. Who were they? Children's remains have been found too. Were they related to the women, or brought here for another reason? And then there are 2 graves that disturb archaeologists the most. 2 women were not buried with care. They were thrown into a ditch. One had her hands and feet bound. What crime had they committed? Or what rule had they broken? Even in a sacred place, not everyone was treated equally. This site may represent a time when Christianity was still forming, before grand cathedrals, before written records, before the rules were fully defined. A chapter of history almost lost. Excavations will continue, and with each discovery, these women, silent for 15 centuries, are slowly telling their story, not through words, but through stone, bone, and the careful work of those who listen.